Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so a couple things. One, just to talk about Saturday's game. Obviously a great win for the Yellow Jackets. Anytime you can win on the road, I mean, you see in this day and age, there's just a lot of teams out there where I've said it for a long time now, the parity amongst everybody in college basketball, and just a lot of good players, good coaches, good teams, all spread out. You got the transfer portal and everything else, the COVID year. So it's just, college basketball is wide open, and you've got to come and play. You got to come and play at a high level every time you step on the floor. And to win a road game like that early in the year in a hostile environment versus a very good basketball team in Georgia State, that was real exciting for our program, for our young men. Got a tough game tomorrow night versus Northern Illinois, and Coach Bruno and his staff, they do a really good job. They got good guards. They're well coached. They can score the ball. They got multiple guys that can shoot the three. I think they run good actions. They play hard. They compete. Coach has done a good job there, and I know he's building the program, and we'll have to play really well if we want to have an opportunity to win the game. We'll need to be really sound at everything that we do, and this will be another good test for us tomorrow night. And like I said, this is a good basketball team. They got really good perimeter players. They got guys inside who can play, and we'll have to play really well if we want to have a chance to win.
Josh, what do you take away from a win like that over Georgia State this early in the season? What did you see from your team?
Well, I thought we found a way to win when it wasn't pretty. It was an ugly win, but ugly counts the same as an ugly win counts better than a pretty loss. So we found a way to do it on the road. It's a great thing. And look, things have changed. When I say things have changed, things are different than they were. And this is nothing about Georgia Tech. This is college basketball in general. That things are different than they were in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. I mean, I can think back at Arizona, even when I was at Arizona in that time period, and there's such those power teams in a sense are such a superior gap compared to everybody else. And I'm sure Moose, anyone here, Randy, you guys all covering Georgia Tech would have said the same thing when you're playing probably a team back then of a Georgia State. You would have the gap between the two was so high based on player. It has totally changed in this day and age. In 2022, it's no longer like that. One, because of TV. Two, because of you can go to the NBA from any player anywhere now. Back then it used to be only you had to be at a main school to be on TV. You had to be at one of those schools. You can go to the Final Four from any school now. The portal, the ability of guys to want to play right away. So things have just changed, and because of that, there's just a lot of good players that are no longer just at the Power 5 level. So teams, even at different levels that are maybe not in the Power 5, have really good players. They're good teams, and that's why you see what it is. Yeah, I get it. Maybe a Gonzaga or another, one or two other teams that you might say, okay, they're different. But you look at everybody else, I mean, there's just the parity is what the parity is. And look at the last two games of Carolina, and Carolina's preseason picked one by everyone. I mean, they struggled to beat College of Charleston, which Coach Kelsey does a great job. They struggled last night against Gardner Webb. Coach does a really good job there. I mean, but the point is, it's not that Carolina isn't really good. It's the gap between even the really good to just anyone else. There's not that gap anymore. There's just not that gap. And I think fans have to understand, people just have to understand that that's the reality of college basketball. That's what makes college basketball right now so fun and exciting, that it's just anything can happen on any given night.
Josh, you have not started 3-0 here.
Why'd you say that? I mean, I
imagine it's pretty important to you to get that monkey off your back. You've had obviously tremendous seasons in your career as a coach, but I imagine this is something that probably sticks in your craw a little bit, the slow starts and trying to break that monkey off your back.
No, well, I would tell you is I honestly I didn't know that until you just said that. But more than the 3-0 or it's more about starting well. You know what I mean? And so no matter what, we need, and we've talked about this. We need to do better earlier, and I've tried to do the best I can to set that up. And when I say set that up, meaning that the stuff that we did in the summer and the fall and the preseason and all the work that we did to try to put us in position to be better early. One of the great things about our program here, every year our teams have gotten better as the year has gone on, but we haven't started well. So I've tried to do some things, play two Division I private scrimmages instead of having 1-1, and try to do that. And the things that we focused on, even within the weight room, to try to help us be better earlier. So hopefully that can continue tomorrow. But like I said, we're going to have to play really well against a really well-coached basketball team.
You've mentioned that you have, in your 9-man rotation, you have more than 5 guys that could
absolutely
be starters. In the few games that you've played so far, have you seen any guys that maybe deserve a few more minutes than they've gotten so far?
You know how it is, Rod. I mean, it's the only way to do that is to play less guys. But right now we're playing 9. I think that's a benefit of our team is that we can play deeper. And Jordan Mecca can play too. We just haven't maybe had some of the availability, and there's been some, with he's been injured a little bit. But so one of our strengths is we are deeper. That's a great thing. And 2 is we have good balance. And so it's just going to be different guys are going to be. That different groups could step up for that individual game at different times. And that's kind of happened so far. And that's why the star of the team's the team, not the individual. And only through the unity of the team can the individual flourish. I've told our guys that 100 times. Only through the unity of the team can the individual flourish.
Put the ball in Miles' hands in the last few seconds there against Georgia State. I think in one of the scrimmages he had a late 3 to send it to OT, although you guys didn't actually play a real OT. What is it about his makeup that kind of may lend itself to, hey, I want it. I want the ball in those situations.
Yeah, and again, we have multiple guys that I could put the ball in the hands to, but Miles, I felt in that game, and I did it not just the last play there, but a possession before too, that he just rolled out. So Miles is a talented young man. He's continued to get better. He can really score, and he's starting to, I'm holding him high standards and high accountability to be a better defender, better guard rebounder, which he's getting better at as well too. And you can see his progression from the end of last year. Look, from where he started at the beginning. If you guys remember, it went a while where he couldn't make a shot, and he looked out of place. And then he started, and I knew he was going to get going, because I knew he was really talented. Then he started flowing. And towards the end of the year, he became really good, and then I think he's been pretty good to this point. I mean, he's Miles Kelly's a really good player.
Speaking of your rotation, does it change the way you approach? You have 3 games in less than a week, and then 4 in 9 days or whatever. Does that maybe allow you to not have to be as watching what you do as much and be able to actually practice or prepare a little differently than being so concerned about watching minutes and stuff?
That's absolutely correct, Kelly. And we're able to maybe practice harder, longer, even go longer in shoot-arounds because we have more depth. Where maybe in the years past, I've had to be more conscientious on that because of the, when you're only playing 6, maybe 7, you got to be careful about wearing them out because you need them, especially when you have, like you said, 3 games in 7 days, 4 games in 9 days, just to make sure you keep them fresh.
When you watched Debo last year, it looked at times like he wasn't sure what his role was out there. Do you feel like that has changed this year and he's become a more active player?
Yeah, Debo, part of that, Rod, was just because he's a freshman last year. And
right.
Have I said it before, it's hard to win games having a young group, but in this league. But he's made a big jump. He's improved. He's gotten better. I think everybody can see that. He's just not a standstill 3-point shooter anymore. And part of our program has been getting guys better. And he's one of the guys that show that he's improved. And his body looks different, too.
Rodney alluded to the notion that They really defended the high post pretty well, took a lot of things away, clogged things up, made it really tough to get the ball inside and on to the cutters and so on. What do you take out of that game moving forward?
Yeah. I mean, look, Randy, there's some things that we need to make some adjustments and tinker with. I mean, look, we can't make wholesale changes between, Sunday we had a short thing and then Monday we were off. So, but there's some things we can maybe adjust and tinker to try to help us and then keep gradually getting better at the things that we need to get better at. But that game allowed us to see some things that we needed to see to try to help us continue to get better in the areas that we could see some issues later on down the road as well.
What do you see from Northern Illinois when you look at tape? It's obviously a team that not a lot of us are familiar with, unlike maybe the more local teams that have been playing.
No, they've got good guard play. I mean, they've got 3 guards, and not everyone's going to know their names, but like 0, 2, and 11. I mean, they're starting kind of 1, 2s, and 3s. I mean, they can play, they can fill it up. Number 11, I mean, he was a big time scorer in his previous spot. He can really shoot the ball. 0 can get downhill and can score all over the floor. 2's a really good player, can play all over the floor. They've got good, solid front court guys, and then they play a lot of guys as well too. Then they got good guys coming in off the bench. So it's a good team. They're, like I said, they run good actions. They're well coached, and we'll have to play really well to have a chance to win.
You hang your hat on defense naturally. Are you happy with where your defense is so far?
Both games that we've played, points per possession have been .85, which is outstanding. So hopefully if we can keep in that area, I'll be more than pleased. Thanks, Coach. Okay, thanks, everybody. Yep.